Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. We are back with your favourite show of the week. I know it's your favourite, the show of the week, Talking Tactics, and it's another successful Talking Tactics. Before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, help us on the road to 5,000 subscribers, and get your comments in, your thoughts on Saturday's performance against West Ham. A great win, great victory, and we have the man himself, Gareth, to talk us through it. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, good. Nice to get off to a winning start.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we've got our usual Viz analysis, and we also have some fantastic match analysis as well. So let's get straight into it. So the usual stuff to start with, our passing networks, looking at kind of how we set up and where the biggest combination of passes was. And was there anything in particular that you noticed from this, Gareth?
Yeah, bit of a different template, a bit of simplification, I think, for this season, but we're not quite happy. We will progress on that, I think, as soon as it goes on. But yeah, I mean, it's quite similar to what we saw last season in respect of, some people might say that that's a back four. It's not. Essentially, it's a back three, wasn't it? We saw in possession, which we'll see later. So the two sitting midfielders, I think, is quite different from before, where we would see sort of one a little bit more higher than the other. We didn't tend to see that so much on Saturday. Yeah, the 4-2-2-2 is what we come to expect. So that is basically that. But as I say, a back three in possession.
Yeah, and we'll come into that a little bit more later
Yeah.
as well. But in terms of the expected threat, in terms of the passing and set pieces, again, anything that stands out, anything that you wanted to pick out from this?
Yeah, I just think Leon Bailey, I think, it's a good thing. I think a lot of that is from the passes, especially. It's nice to see sort of someone topping this XT, the creation chart, away from home as well. I just think we need a little bit more from central midfield there. I thought there would be a little bit more from the likes of Morgan Rogers. And I think this is where we're looking for a passer in midfield. This is where Louise was that man. We're looking for that passer to sort of create that higher expected threat for us. But first game, it'll come.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, it's quite interesting. I know we're going to do a little bit of a focus on Morgan Rogers, but it's interesting because watching the game when he was running with the ball, he's such a threat. And I thought some of his passes were actually pretty good, but if he could really nail that down, you think what a hell of a player you've got there in terms of that, the ability to run with the ball and then the end product, with whether it's a shot or whether it's a pass to set up a goal.
Yeah, I think he's very similar to Jacob Ramsey, isn't he? In the way that he's a ball carrier. That is his main strength, and to sort of receive. We spoke about it last week, didn't we? And to receive the ball, turn and go, and that's what. And again, we'll see that later on. But that is where he is vital. But I still think we're missing that intricate passer, maybe in midfield. Depends how they want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're not going to mention his name, who the apparent number one target is, but yeah, everyone can work it out. So, looking at the expected goals, the old XG, anything again noticeable from this in terms of chances? I guess for Villa and for West Ham.
Yeah, I just think
The
that
penalty
Leon.
obviously has a big thing with that, or is that discounting the penalty?
Yeah, the penalty they don't sort of have it. They just sort of count. They count this in the XG4 under stat count it, but
Yeah.
we can kind of do it without. But yeah, the one thing that does stand out, well, two things that stand out for me are the three West Ham chances in the red on the left hand side, and the Leon Bailey miss from out wide in the yellow there, which is quite was quite sort of surprising. Really, I honestly thought he was going to bury that, but yeah, the two goals you can see is sort of the penalty, and like I say, the Yanana one that's close in range there. And West Ham did create quite a bit. Their XG at 3.34 was pretty decent, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm very surprised at that because again, other than that last sort of 3 or 4 frantic minutes, I didn't see a great deal, but yeah, I mean, again, the eye test against the analysis, this is
Yeah,
where it comes into it.
Yeah, I think the two red chances that we saw nearest there, they were the sort of the clearances off of the line, weren't they? So
Yeah.
they probably hit a fairly reasonably high XG, and they were really close together. So yeah, it was kind of like it wasn't that noticeable really, and I didn't think they created anything really of much worth. But you could have said they could have scored two.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So game flow, again, anything that you notice in here?
I think it's just sort of like we talked about last season about periods in games where it's good to dominate games, and can we sort of get that flow and the control of the game? And I think this is decent from 0 minutes almost to 35, nearly 40 minutes. Have us West Ham come back a little bit after half time, then we dominate for a 10-minute period, 45 to 60, let's say, and then again towards the end of the game. So it's important. We're obviously in the sky blue there, so I think to dominate in certain periods or control the game in certain periods was quite good, although possession didn't necessarily reflect that. It was quite close in terms of possession percentages, but I felt that we were in control.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I totally agree. And quick look at the timeline in terms of the XG timeline. Is that kind of reflective of that in terms of how the chances were set up or the consistency there?
Yeah, I think if you were to overlay the game flow chart onto this one, you would see that the certain periods in the game where we did sort of take our chances and everything else, and in the same periods that we were in control of the game. So I think if, like I say, if that was to overlay or put it side by side or whatever, you would see that probably correlates quite well.
Yeah. Well, awesome stuff, mate. And yeah, does give us a good picture of the game and also shows little areas where we might be able to improve. Before we get into that, your kind of analysis in terms of the still images, make sure you smash the like button, guys, and do hit that subscribe button. We really do love your support, but we want to hit 5,000. We're on the road to 5K, so you guys can help us get there. So, as I say, in terms of the big key elements that you wanted to pick out. You've got a few here, and starting off with the Onana set piece. And I mean, he could not have asked for a better debut. I mean, 4 minutes into the game, and he's got a header from 2 yards out. But they did focus a little bit on this on Sky Sports. What did you notice about what we did to give him that space and that opportunity?
Yeah, there was a lot of blocking going on, and I think, and a lot of these set pieces, when you're looking to hit your big man in the box, you're relying on your blockers. He won't get there on his own because they know that is what he is trying to do. So they will try to stop him. Leon Bailey did a fantastic job here. You could see it sort of on the line. He hustled and bustled Mavropanos all the way along that line, in behind the goalkeeper, in front of the goalkeeper, just to try and sort of get that little bit of space for Onana. And the delivery was spot on. And we'll see in the next slide that just how much time and space he had. I mean, Mikel Antonio's not done a good enough job for a
No.
start. But look where Leon Bailey and Mavropanos is, and this is what I mean. If you notice in the previous slide, he starts almost to the other side of the goal. So he's
Yes.
literally
Yeah.
followed him all the way across and blocked him all the way across. And all right, it's not the best of blocks. Mavropanos has managed to get a jump on him, but because of the leap of Onana, the ball's gone over the head, and it's a good chance. It's a great chance, and a lot going on.
Yeah, and I mean, they were saying, what's the goalkeeper doing? Not claiming it from there or whatever. I don't know how much blame the goalkeeper takes, but he was pretty close in, wasn't he, when when he ends up scoring the header? But you said there the blocking is what does it, because I guess he's relying on one of his defenders to be able to just swallow that up and head it away.
But that's the job of Mavropanos, and that is why he
Yes,
was blocked off. He is that man that's
yes.
going to sort of take that run to that near post. The other two players, Rodriguez, I think it is, and Antonio, they're the markers in that thing, and you've got a boat at the back post there in case it comes across. And that ball could easily be flicked on and go to Esri Konsa there at the back post,
hmm
by the way. So you're
hmm
looking for runners in there. But yeah, Mavropanos is obviously the man, like Tyrone Mings is for us, who is the free man who is looking to clear the ball. But it's a combination of a delivery and just great timing and blocking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we certainly weren't moaning about it either. Then the double pivot, and lots of people have commented about the quality of Amadou Onana's debut. Complemented so well as well with Yuri Tielemans. I know we're both kind of fans of the way that Tielemans plays. What did you notice about that double pivot in midfield?
Yeah, I just think that if Onana wasn't the debutant and Tielemans was, we would be talking equally about Yuri Tielemans. He went a little bit unnoticed on Saturday, I thought. I thought Onana got a lot of the praise, probably because of the debut and probably because of the goal. But Tielemans was equally as important, and we'll see in these slides that this little understanding that they seem to have got already, by the way, is quite apt. And especially if you're playing against like West Ham, who are in a 4-4-2 sort of at different stages. And it was important that not just Rodgers, not just Watkins, but Onana and Tielemans, you've got that 4-2-2-2 shape. So you're looking to press into that sort of midfield area. And Onana and Tielemans picked it up really, really well. And Onana sort of goes forward. He will press. If it's not him, he drops off. Tielemans then presses. And he pressed. And Paquetá was having to drop deeper, by the way, to try and get on the ball as much. And we just shut him out.
Yeah, I didn't notice him at all, and did talk about that in the preview. I said even like last season, I know he's a really, really good player, but we've seemed to been quite effective against him. And yeah, I was so impressed with both of them. I just really like how Tielemans plays everything 1 or 2 touch, three touch max, and even if he wins a tackle, he's looking to spring in a tackle, spring someone forward. So that clearly means that he's thinking about where he wants to go or where he wants the ball to go before he's received the ball, which is obviously the sign of a good player.
Yeah, I think he's really sort of. I know it's only game one, but
Yeah,
what we saw of him in pre-season, he looked really fit, and he looked
yeah,
like fresh from the Euros, and he looks like that player who can sort of make a bit of a difference in midfield. He's probably been told, "Look, this is your time. You're willing to step up. Douglas has gone. We need you in there," and he just does not stop running. This geezer.
no, absolutely, mate. And then looking at Morgan Rogers, as I say, we wanted to do a little bit of focus with him. What did you notice about his performance?
Yeah, just a lot of this sort of dropping deep, moving in sort of coming, going, stop, start, moving about, a lot of movement and a lot of sort of work rate as well. Look, I mean, we can see that midfield four there, for example, which we pretty much saw in the last slide, but you can see Tielemans, Bailey and McGinn and Onana in that four. And it's important that we're in this sort of 4-4-2, actually a 4-4-1-1, if you like. Rodgers is that link between midfield and Ollie Watkins, and we spoke about this last week. That's the pivot. That is the point of which you're trying to get the ball into him, and especially like we've just said earlier on in the pod, if you can get a player like that who can receive, turn, and carry the ball well, you're laughing.
Yeah, and we're seeing it there. I mean, what I was also impressed with is when he's in full flow, he's so difficult to stop. And for such a young lad, the physicality that he's got, the speed that he's got, he's brushing people off. I mean, I know he was doing that a bit last season, but it just seems even more noticeable now, particularly a team like West Ham, who are, always known for being quite big and quite physical. And also, it was telling when Nedeljkovic and Philogene came on, not their fault, but it was just like they were getting brushed off the ball and Rodgers was just holding people off, and you can see that the
Yeah.
physical profile that he's got is so good.
Yeah, I mean, I was reluctant to sort of. I'm not comparing the standard, but the
No,
way he conducts himself almost is very Jude Bellingham like. It's very much like he sort of picks the ball up and he can carry it, and the strength to keep players off just with shoulders, not just arms, but almost with shoulders. It reminds me a lot of that same sort of Bellingham style.
yeah, no, and look, if as you said before there, I was surprised that his expected threat in terms of his passing wasn't as high, but that's an area where he can work. That's an opportunity
I,
area. He probably could have scored a goal on Saturday. Probably be slightly disappointed that he didn't score a goal, getting two shots on target. So that's another area where he thinks, right, next game I can really make an impact here.
Yeah, I didn't document it, but I do sort of collect data for the expected threat from ball carries, and so I haven't looked at that, and that might be interesting to see if anything was. It's the numbers are never usually that high for players who do that, unless you're a winger kind of thing. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But I think this is where I think Ramsey may struggle to get back in the side. I know it's not necessarily position dependent, but I think he may struggle.
Yeah, or maybe he tries to find a way for them both to play, because they do look like they want to link well together. But well,
But I think
it's
the
an
only
exciting
Yeah,
prospect.
I think the only way he does that, Rich, is if he plays a back three, because he's
Yeah,
got to play 3-4-2-1. Then he's got to play them
yeah,
as two tens, and I can't see that.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, mate.
Yeah,
It's a good problem to have. So
yeah.
the last thing you wanted to talk about was slightly, I guess, a slight change or a slight new process in terms of Emery evolving the team, this 3-2-5 shape in possession?
Yeah, we see a lot of teams do this. Like Manchester City, especially, do it last season, and a lot of other teams sort of like have started to try and sort of figure this out and try and do this and see if they can approach this. And I think this is where I talk about Rodgers and McGinn, and I think this is where we talk about the two. Where it refers back to the 2 10s. If you're going to take McGinn off, you're going to put Ramsey in there. So that is another option, sort of thing, because I don't think McGinn quite does enough in this situation. I think as a team player, he does fantastic. I think in attacking situations like this, he lacks a little bit of presence in there, like Rodgers can turn on the ball and stuff. But yeah, you're looking at a 3-2-5 because you're looking to occupy the back four, especially if you're playing against a back four, by the way. And West Ham just didn't figure it out. You've got to drop. Normal teams, if they're playing in a 4-4-2 in defensive shape, they would still need, like Leon Bailey does for us, you have to drop a player back to mark the opposition's fullback, like Luca Digne here. And this is the problem they had. The switch was always on. The spread of play was really good. And if you've got two players like Onana and Tielemans in midfield, and Pau Torres, by the way, you can play a pass, you're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, highlighting it here, Pau Torres on the ball here. Yeah, just that whole thing. But you said second half they'd slightly figured it out a little bit more.
Yeah, they did. They dropped Rodriguez sort of like to the right sort of thing, and not so much as like to make a back five, just to make sort of like that player sort of that extra presence over there. And they like I said, they kind of figured it out. I said to myself at halftime, they're going to have to do something here because they're just letting Luca Digne sort of, even though he wasn't as effective as he could have been. I think we could have exploited that, Rich, by the way, a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that was on a lot, because I think we just don't tend to do that a lot because it's McGinn on that side, maybe. But yeah, the 3-2-5. Bailey's out of the picture here, but you can kind of see what this allows Pau Torres and Matty Cash to move forward a little bit and just to play those passes into Rodgers or into John McGinn, and especially Pau out to Luca Digne as well.
Yeah, and what was interesting was they figured that out, and then bringing someone like Ian Maatsen on, was excellent when he came on, but clearly got the pace and the technical ability, obviously can have an impact even if they do bring a player onto him, because he's obviously got that pace to exploit it.
I think that was the plan. From what I could imagine, it was sort of like, well, if we bring Maatsen on, can we really sort of give them a run? And don't forget, it was the last few minutes of the game pretty much. So, sort of give him not just a run out, but just see how he can adapt to that sort of role. And I think he probably will play against Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, look, all in all, a really good performance at a tough ground, and one that we've not done well at historically. And I guess putting aside some of our apprehensions for the season in terms of how the players were going to adapt to Unai Emery's style, kind of put some of that to bed a little bit. Obviously, very early days, but yeah, really positive to see.
Yeah, listen, I mean, would we be glowing as much if we'd beaten Ipswich Town at home on the first day of the season? No disrespect to them, probably not. But, like you said, to go away to West Ham, which has been historically a bit of a tricky ground for us, it's a good start. And I think from what I saw, I was really pleased, especially with the shape like this 3-2-5. I thought that's new for me. That's a new sort of, we've seen it. And I think because he's got that midfield security, as opposed to he didn't have that with Douglas Luiz. But the trade-off is that you haven't then got that incisive passing so much. So it's kind of getting that right, isn't it? And I think against Arsenal, a different test.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, you're going to be with us all the way with your fantastic analysis and on this show as well as on X. Where can people find you, mate, if they want to find out this great information?
Yeah, I'm just going to be putting it all on one video analysis, so it'd just be Aston Villa stuff on there.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much, Gareth. Top man, as always, top stuff. Make sure you smash that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Get your comments in below, your thoughts, reflecting on Saturday's performance and anything that you noticed tactically or anything that you want Gareth to have a look at as well. Please get in touch with us either in the comments or, as he said, at One Villa Analysis. We'll be back later this week with Fans Forum, opposition preview with Arsenal round the corner, and maybe some transfer talk, transfer rumours in between. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.